No.
Good afternoon and welcome. At this time, I would like to call the meeting session to order. Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal and Foreign Affairs Committee House session. Before I proceed, I would like to introduce members of this committee. To my left is Rep. Probst. To my right is Richard Lizama, Richard Lizama, Vice Chair, and to the right, the far right, is Senator Edith Guerrero. Welcome. And my counsel is the counsel, Tahera and Giovanna Titano. So welcome everybody. I would like to introduce and welcome the Bureau of Military Affairs, right? Special Assistant Glenna Palacios and her staff right up here. Thank you for your presence. And to the audience and on remote view, welcome. There is no public comment, but we will have the opportunity to ask questions, okay? Special Assistant Palacios, I invited you today. Today's session is to give us an overview presentation of the Bureau of Military Affairs. As chair for the FFA committee, it is of great interest for myself and the members of this committee to get up to speed with the development of the military buildup within the CNMI. You may first introduce yourself and then the team is with you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. My name is Glenna Palacios, and I am the Special Assistant for Military Affairs of the Commonwealth Bureau of Military Affairs under the Office of the Governor. And I have some of my team members here today. To my right, we have Mr. Gilbert Burnbridge. He is the legal counsel to the governor. And then we have Mr. Alex Palacios. He is our field liaison coordinator, and also Mr. Darryl Babalta, field liaison coordinator, who are responsible for the Commonwealth programs that we have under the CBMA. And then we also have Sixto Igasomar. is the director for the newly established Sinimay Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So first of all, I want to, Chairman, I want to, on behalf of Governor Torres, Lieutenant Governor Palacios, thank you for inviting us to appear before your committee today to provide an overview of the military matters in the Sinimay. There's really a whole lot of information, and we tried to put together, a presentation that's going to provide a summary of the initiatives, military initiatives, and without having to, lose everyone with really just a lot of information. So we ask for your indulgence. We are going to be presenting, as much as we can during this limited time. But Mr. Chairman and members, there's always an opportunity to come back, and if there's any information that you would need from our office, please do let us know. We'll be more than happy to provide that information. Okay. All right. So go ahead and proceed. Okay. So we'll start off the presentation. Of course, everyone here knows that it's the covenant doctrine that governs the unique relationship that we have as a Commonwealth and community with the United States government. The execution of the covenant agreement and a contemporaneous technical agreement resulted in a 1983 lease agreement of 17,000 acres on the island of Tinian. That's 3/4 of Tinian, 177 acres of on Saipan. That's the area in Tanapa Harbor, and the entire island of FDM, covering 206 acres, and the waters immediately adjacent there too. From the initial signing of the covenant, the technical agreement, and the 1983 lease agreement, there have been a few adjustments in the amount of land leased by the military and leased back to the Sinimay. So just on the slide, just briefly, we have on the island of Tinian, we have a little over 7,000 acres of land leased back to the Sinimay government, and that covers a portion of south of Westfield Harbor, north of Westfield, and east of Broadway, and some acre grazing areas north of Westfield. For the island of Saipan, the entire 177 acres have been, leased back to us, and 133 of that, of course, is where the American Memorial Park sits. And then we have the 5 acres where the U.S. Army Reserves complex is sitting today. And then the entire 39 acres of the harbor is actually, returned back to the Sinimay government. Part of the technical agreement and the lease agreement also provides for joint use of land properties on the island of Tinian, and that includes the Saipan San Jose Harbor, the Westfield facilities and airstrip, terminal utilities, and in the event that the United States government or DoD for that matter comes in and constructs any facilities, in that area where it provides for joint use, we get the Tinian residents also, and Sinimay residents for that matter, gets to also have some sort of access to those facilities whenever, if DoD or the U.S. government decides to construct the facilities. And also access to existing and future air terminal, and support from DoD for security and customs support. Part of the technical agreement also provides for provisions designed to facilitate mutually beneficial outcomes, inclusive of employment and economic benefit for the residents of the Commonwealth. There's also continued access to the beaches and fishing and shoreline activities in and around the MLA. That's the military lease area on the 2/3 of Tinian, and also future access for any infrastructure projects, as I mentioned earlier, which includes utilities, potable water, Medicare, fire protection, base exchange, commercially. I know that that's something that's been a very controversial issue, something that the Tinian residents have been asking for, and that's something that it does not exist till today. And of course, if they ever built one, access to their movie theaters, schools, and community assistance. So as I mentioned earlier, part of the technical agreement provides for mutually beneficial outcomes, and that includes, requiring the Department of Defense, whenever practicable, to access internal resources such as labor and also services for construction, development, supply, and maintenance activities, and to provide technical and training assistance to develop the skills of the cinema community. Okay, as we all know, there has been just a lot of happening in our region. The geopolitical and international economic events are so dynamic and unpredictable that continues to shape and influence, and impact our way of life. The evolving complex global security landscape for the United States national security in the Asia-Pacific region as a result of the ever-increasing moves by adversities to capture world power necessitated the Department of Defense to shift its priority to the Indo-Pacific theater. The U.S. government deployed its Asia-Pacific region rebalancing strategy to modernize and strengthen alliances in order to optimize U.S. military posture and presence in the region, and for the deployment of sophisticated assets while investing in cutting-edge technologies. We also know that the Mariana Islands archipelago is the most sought out in the region due to its strategic location. It is identified as a critical platform for the United States defense posture to preserve and enhance stable and diversified security order, and to reinforce the U.S. ability to negotiate and engage in peaceful resolution of disputes, and to maintain a strong, sustainable, and balanced and inclusive economic growth in the region. It is also the platform that serves as a sphere of influence to strengthen the cooperation with allies and to leverage their significant and growing capabilities to sustain, strengthen a rules-based regional order while addressing regional and global challenges. That strategy resulted in the U.S. government and the government of Japan through their United States Japan Security Consultative Committee to approve recommendations provided for in the U.S.-Japan Alliance Transformation and alignment for the future agreement for the realignment of the U.S. forces in Japan and related Japan self-defense forces, which included in part the relocations of 8,000 Marines personnel and their 9,000 dependents from Okinawa to Guam. So in May 2006, the United States government and the government of Japan, through the U.S. Secretaries of State and Defense and the Japanese Minister of Foreign Affairs and Japanese Minister of State for Defense, announced the United States-Japan roadmap for realignment implementations. And as a result of that, the CNMI, Guam, and really just in our region, we have been presented with ever-expanding and compounding military activities in the past 14 years, mainly the Guam and Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands military relocations, the Mariana Islands Range Complex, also known as the MERC, Mariana Islands Training and Testing, the VERT activities and exercise program, and the ever-controversial CNMI Joint Military Training. Okay, so for the Guam and CNMI military relocation, we had the Navy back in 2007 that announced its intention to issue a draft environmental impact statement, and that environmental impact statement was actually issued 2 years later, back in 2009, which resulted in a final EIS being issued in 2010 with a record of decision 2 months later, September 2010. And in that record of decision, the U.S. Navy chose selected alternative 1, which basically what that provides for is to allows the military to construct 4 live training ranges within the Tinian leaseback area to support individual and company level sustainment training, a platoon battle course, automated combat pistol, military police firearms qualification course, and a rifle non-distance range. And I'm just touching the area that touches the Sinimay, not including Guam. Okay. So subsequently, the Sinimay government, through the SHIPO, HPO, State Historic Preservation Officer, as well as Guam's and the U.S. Navy, executed a programmatic agreement in 2011, and that programmatic agreement is for 20 years. Subsequently, in 2012, the Navy announced its intent to issue a draft supplemental environmental statement for the purpose of meeting updated international agreement and treaty requirements and to fulfill the U.S. national security policy requirements to provide for mutual defense to deter aggression and dissuade coercion in the Western Pacific region. So for those that let me just take a look here for the draft. Subsequently to the issuance of the supplemental environmental impact statement, with the eventual issuance of the record of decision in 2015, the Navy adopted Alternative E and 5 that are actually specific to the territory of Guam as identified in the 2015 final EIS. Okay, and then after the MIRC, the military, the Navy in this case, issued draft environmental impact statement, for the Mariana Islands range complex. And what that is essentially is going to allow the military to train in a study area. So the environmental impact statement was finalized in May of 2010, with a record of the decision issued 2 months later, with the Navy adopting Alternative 1, which increased the tempo of training activities in the areas of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and strike in conjunction with multinational joint exercise. And a programmatic agreement subsequently was executed a few months later by the Navy, the Guam, and the Sinimay through the State Historic Preservation Officers. So the purpose of the MIRC is really to allow the Navy and other U.S. military services and the U.S. Coast Guard to meet their respective missions in maintaining, training, and equipping combat-ready forces capable of winning wars, deterring aggression, and to maintain freedom of the sea. The study areas covers the Western Pacific and consists of 3 primary components, and those include the ocean surface and undersea seas, special use airspace, and training land areas covering a little over 984,000 square meters, nautical miles, geographic areas. And again, it's for military testing and training platform, for tactics, munitions, and explosive and electronic warfare systems. Okay, so just to provide for a better perspective, it's, that the MIRC actually really covers a lot of areas, and just briefly, it covers the ocean surface and undersea areas extended from the international waters south of Guam to the Norfolk Basin, and from the Pacific Ocean east of the Mariana Islands to the middle of the Pacific Philippine Sea. It also covers ocean areas in the Philippine Sea, Pacific Ocean, and economic zones of the U.S. at FSM, and portion of the Marianas Trench Marine National Monument lies within that study area as well. So the ring complex that came with this initiative includes land ranges and training areas facilities on Guam, Rota, Tinian, Saipan, and of course the entire island of FDM, encompassing about 64 nautical miles of land. In terms of airspace, it covers a special use airspace consisting of the warning area 517, restricted airspace over FDM, and air traffic control assigned airspace, covering about 63,000 nautical miles of airspace. So that's a really big area of spaces. And it's used for range management and scheduling purposes. The MIRC is divided into training areas under different controlling authorities. The MERC supported activities and training, research, development, and testing and evaluation of military hardware, personal tactics, munitions, explosives, and electronic combat systems. And then we have the Mariana Islands training and testing, with the Navy issuing an environmental impact statement back in 2013, and finalized that 2 years later, and with the record of decision 2 months after the final EIS issuance, and with the Navy adopting Alternative 1, which essentially what it did was increase at sea training in the MERC complex area to enable the Navy and other services to maintain and train, and of course equip combat ready military forces. Okay, so just going back to this map here, if you take a look at the red dotted line, that's actually the MERC that I mentioned earlier. So what the MID did was expanded the study area and the training area for the military. And the purpose of the MID is to, we can adjust the study area to support all current and post training and testing activities that the military was looking into at the time, all through up to 2020. So the expansion includes the northern and western boundary areas to the north of the MERC within the NMI Economic Exclusive Zone, and the areas to the west of the MERC. It also covers a transit corridor in the open ocean between the MERC and the Hawaii Range Complex area that enables the Navy ships to conduct limited training and testing during transit within the seas. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of the MID is, really just to adjust the size of the locations of the training and to increase the tempo of training to support all current and proposed training that the Navy was looking forward at the time into 2020. Part of those adjustments is, including increase of force structure changes in the relocation of the ships, aircraft and personnel, planned aircraft vessels, weapon systems training and testing requirements, and it also authorized ongoing activities previously not analyzed in the MERC environmental impact statement. It also established danger zones for existing shore-based small arms and explosive ordnance disposal ranges and nearshore small arms training area. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it increased net explosive weight for underwater detonation from 10 pounds to 20 pounds at the Agate Bay mine and neutralization site in Guam. So this slide here is really just to give a better perspective of what the MID covers, the MID study area covers. It established ranges at sea, above and below surface, airspace, land-based for military platforms, tactics, munitions, explosive, and electronic warfare systems. And they also established operating areas, designating danger zones, restricted areas, safety zones, service danger zones, and exclusive zones, solely for military activities. So subsequently, after the initial record of decision for the initial MID environmental impact statement, the Navy came back and issued another supplemental environmental impact statement in April of 2019, which they finalized back in just last year, June of 2020. And the Navy issued a record of decision for Alternative 2. And basically what that is that it increased the types and tempo of trainings analyzed in the 2015 and MID final EIS preferred alternatives, and included additional fleet exercises and increased by 50% associated unit level activities. It also increased the joint multi-strike group exercises with an additional small joint coordinates and anti-submarine warfare exercise per year. In July of 2019, as I mentioned earlier, the MERC, the semi-government and U.S. Navy entered into, executed a programmatic agreement back in 2009. So that PA actually expired in December of 2019, but the Navy came back, in July 2019 prior to the expiration, and proposing for a 6 months extension of the MERC 2009 PA. They came and they did 3 consultations, Section 106 consultation, to meet that federal regulations requirement of DOD in terms of cultural resources. And it was an opportunity for the Sinai government, when they came back to renew this, for us to really come back to the table, because back in 2009 there was really not much involvement in the part of the Sinai government and also the Sinai community to really have a say in the proposed training activities that the military executed back then. So as a result of that, Governor Torres took the opportunity to call the Section 106 consultation off the table and open up the door for us to engage with Joint Region Maran as a fact lead, to be able to reiterate the many concerns that the Sinai government and Sinai people have been conveying over the years. But as a sign of good faith, collaboration in the process of ensuring a comprehensive assessment of the semi-historic resources, Governor Torres signed an additional 4-month extension of the 2009 PA on December of 29. Another extension was done in April 2020, and also in August 2020, another 6 months extension, and only recently this year in February, a 1-year PA was executed between the Sinai government and the Navy to allow the environmental, the Sinai DOD MIT environmental working group ample time to work through the list of items that were included in the record of this decision that was executed in 2020. So for those that have been, just paying attention to the military activities here and in our region, and have had the opportunities to read thousands and thousands and thousands of documents, and even a record of decisions issued by, either the Navy or the Army or any of the components of DOD, will know that there have been many concerns conveyed by different communities, with military activities, ranging from the U.S. mainland to Hawaii, and all the way up here. And there really was never any, a serious consideration taken by the military, to commit to addressing the concerns that have been conveyed by respective communities. But in this case, we were very successful in getting the Navy to actually document, their commitment to the Sinai government in addressing a lot of the concerns that we have been conveying for so many years. And I have that up in the slide, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, I'll go over it real quickly. Those includes, just commitment of the Navy to improve communication, collaboration, and data sharing with semi-regulatory agencies, and to provide its library of resources to the Sinai. This is very, very critical, because over the years, our regulatory agencies have been trying to get the Department of Defense to share their records and data that they use to make decisions, and in carrying out their military exercises. And so we have that commitment now in the record of decisions. They also agreed to work with us to develop a standard operating procedures within 6 months of the issuance of the ROD, to establish a process through which necessary engagements, such as routine meetings between appropriate Navy representatives and local government officials and resource agencies, where we can, be holding conferences and round tables to address procedural and ongoing semi concerns. They also agreed to conduct archaeological survey at FDM to enhance cultural resource management and to improve the cinema's historical record, and to develop a baseline of FDM geophysical conditions and conduct monitoring to gauge changes in the FDM's geophysical conditions. So we do mention, as I mentioned earlier, we have a working group, environmental working group, and we have, COVID just kind of set back a lot of things. We took a pause for, almost a year, and we are now, re-engaging just to move forward, with the work that we started back in 2020. So I'm not going to read everything that's in the ROD. I'll be more than happy to provide, members of this committee a copy of the record of decision that you can see. So this is just, the most important, significant, commitments that they were able to come in, but put in the ROD. But there's also some things in the ROD that, that they also included, in response to the many concerns that our CMI agencies have been conveying. Okay, and then the next initiative is the Divert Activities and Exercise Program. And as we know, just recently, in 2019, we have the Commonwealth Ports Authority that entered into a lease agreement with the U.S. Air Force, a total of $21.9 million lease agreement, for the Divert Activities Program on the island of Tinian. So this initiative was started by the Air Force back in 2011. And it took about 3 years for them to issue a revise, in response to the concerns that were conveyed by the CMI government and also our members of our community. And subsequently, HPO, our SHPO executed a PA, or the governor, for in this case, executed a PA with the U.S. Air Force, to move this project forward. So it was not until December of 2016 when a record of decision was issued with the U.S. Air Force selecting Alternative 2, which is the modified Tinian Alternative North option. For those that may be aware, the initial proposal was actually, designated Saipan as the preferred alternative to have the divert activities, and subsequently the revised EIS proposed for a hybrid where it included, Tinian, but after, years of collaborations and engagement between our government and also CPA, the U.S. Air Force went back and revised it and limited it to just Tinian. So that's where the Divert Activities and Exercise Program is going to be at. Okay, and as I mentioned, CPA entered into an agreement with DOD for a total of $21.9 million for a lease agreement, a portion up on the Tinian Airport. And this project, has, the divert includes 5 specific projects, and that includes a cargo pad with taxi extension, a maintenance support facility, airfield development phase, parking apron, and also for the construction of fuel tanks, receive pipeline and hydrant system. As a result of this lease that is attributed to the lease premises and easement areas to the Tinian Seaport, CPA actually can use $1 million of that money, of that funding from the $21.9 million for seaport related activities. And then we have the Commonwealth Joint Military Affairs. I'm always having the Commonwealth Bureau of Military Affairs, so this is so the Commonwealth Joint Military Training, CGMT, pardon the oversight. So it's not military affairs, it's military training. So the Navy, just going back, as you remember, I mentioned earlier about, the U.S. and the Japan government agreeing, executing a treaty to increase posture in our region. So this is just one of those major initiatives that came along with that, the CGMT. So the Navy issued an environmental impact statement back in 2013, or announced its intent to issue an environmental in 2013, which subsequently issued a document in 2015. And as we all know, we all came together as one community, both members of our residents and the CNMI government across the CNMI and also Guam, and just push back strong against this proposal, because this proposal largely proposes to supersede the prior work EIS program and portions of the bonds and Sinai military relocation EIS relating to Tinian, and it also included Pagan. The training that is being proposed in this initiative is, includes destructive live fire training facilities and activities on Tinian and Pagan for the Marines that are destined to be relocated from Okinawa to Guam, and also proposes to establish additional training capabilities and capacities for the U.S. Air Force to maintain, equip, and train combat-ready forces. So just to provide everyone, this slide is really just to put it all together, all the main, primary, the 5 initiatives that DoD has for us here in Sinai, just to provide a better perspective of the aggressive, military initiative that really affects us. So if we take a look at the timing of all the issues of the environmental impact statements, it really shows that the DoD just tried to do to really just implement all of this initiative all at once as much as they could. And fortunately for us as a community, the Navy, the military is required to comply with a lot of certain federal regulations. And one of the things that's really helping us is the NEPA, that's the National Environmental Protection Act, a policy that requires the Navy to assess its potential impacts, and also to come up with mitigation measures to address those impacts. So in all of this, just going to provide a little bit of just a summary of how the CMI has responded to all the 5 major initiatives that DoD has for our community, for our islands, our Commonwealth. Just in recognition, and respect, to the covenant agreement that we have with the United States, the CNMI has made significant good faith efforts to honor that agreement and the commitment, in the covenant as part of our relationship with the U.S. government, in terms on one of which, in terms of cooperating with military trainings and accommodating the U.S. Concerns regarding national security. And also we have supported the U.S. military through high rates of enlistment and military projects that, when presented with non-destructive and mutually beneficial, outcomes. The complexity of the Department of Defense initiatives really resulted in varying public opinions and differing positions taken by the Sinai government over the past 40 years, as evident by the numerous legislation introduced and or enacted on by our Sinai legislature, as well as policies taken by previous and current administrations, where some are in favor of and calling for expediency in mobilizing military development efforts, while other actions voice strong oppositions to military development in the Sinai. So I'm going to focus on this administration's efforts, on how the administration is addressing DoD initiatives here and the concerns of our people and as a community and as a government. So just dating back during his tenure back in the 18th legislature as the Senate President, Governor Torres stood strong on his opposition to any proposal that would harm our people and our way of life. And it is since that time where he conveyed a resounding message to DoD leadership that no consideration would be given to activities without first respecting the people. Our people and the leadership of the islands are treated as partners in the development of military activities, and that any proposal should hold sacred the history and culture of our people and the respect we hold for our natural environment. In 2015, as we all know, the late Governor Enos invoked Section 902 talks of our covenant and designated then Lieutenant Governor Torres as the Sinai's lead representative to oversee all military matters in the Sinai, where it elevated the governor's resolve to continue opposing defense proposals that would result in the degradation of our environment and opportunity for our people. Subsequently, in 2016, Governor Torres reasserted the invocation of the Section 902 between the Sinai and the U.S. to bear the emotional, cultural, environmental, and excuse me. Yes, I just lost my slide there. Just a moment. Okay, pardon me. To bear the emotional, cultural, and environmental and economic consequences of military activities, and really, it's through this forum and this process where it laid the groundwork and established the foundation for an open and respectful consultative collaboration between the Sinai government and DoD. And we also know that the 2016 902 consultation resulted in a report that was signed by the Sinai government and the Department of Interior, which was subsequently submitted to the United States President. Okay. So in recognizing and respecting the unique relationship between the U.S. and the Sinai as governed by the Covenant Doctrine, and in response to the progressing differences, today's administration has taken the approach to reconcile evolving views and position by providing a strong and consistent voice for the people of the Sinai while ensuring that the needs of our nation are weighed and balanced. So in order to mitigate and minimize the impacts to our islands community by military activities, we're working towards enhancing our islands' resiliency and sustainability. Today's administration remains vigilant, proactive, and responsive while employing strategies to leverage the Commonwealth's standings. So administration has, deployed engagement strategies, which is guided by the principles of, strong stewardship, long-term sustainability, non-prejudicial, and mutually beneficial partnership, with the overall objectives to continue reinforcing our culture of stewardship and shared value that would be structurally competent and purposely strong to empower today's and future generation to perpetuate our collective and shared values in an enduring way. Okay, so one of the efforts, to respond to DoD's robust and complex activities. Governor Torres established the Commonwealth Bureau of Military Affairs through Executive Order 2019-019, which he executed back in July of 2019. And essentially, what this office is really the designated office to serve as a central clearinghouse. We care for communications and documents and re-engagements between DoD and its various departments and commands with the Sinai government. And this office has become necessary, really, just because and critical, to streamline the communications and coordination efforts, because as we all know in the past, for those of us that are familiar, we had the Department of Defense, different components have been coming in, to the Sinai and just been going directly, engaging with different agencies, without our agencies, talking to each other. And as a result of that, a lot of actions and, have taken place over the years that, that subjected us to the challenges that we are experiencing today, because everyone at the time were just working in a vacuum. So today, this office really just brings everyone together so that, we all work in partnership and in collaboration. To make sure that, we are all aware of what's happening and what each agency is responding and doing in terms of all the military activities here in their respective oversight responsibility. So just in line with the executive order, the mission of the CBMA is to improve communication, coordination, and response of the Sinai government to U.S. military, to facilitate military integration into our community, and to ensure the relationship between the military and the Sinai is one based on mutual respect and benefit. And, and that envisions a strong and mutually beneficial collaboration between Sinai and DoD that recognize and preserve the cultural values of our people. So as a central clearinghouse, the efforts that we have done to meet that mandate is that, we have established protocols with semi-department and agencies to streamline communications channels on DoD-related matters. We have also established an internal depository of DoD-related resources, and we are maintaining a depository with more than 40,000 accessible records to date. And, this office was just opened a year and a half ago, and then that's how much record we have been able to put together. And there's really a lot of records out there. We have not yet, collected all of the records that are here in the Sinai alone. So, also increasing that, effort in, and solidifying a central clearinghouse. We have also established the land analysis system to provide a centralized and secure data library for all GIS, CAD, and planning documents, including geo-referenced high-resolution aerial images of Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. And we're hoping to work towards also including the Northern Islands in the near future. Okay. And through our engagement with Joint Readiness we have been successful in JRM activating the use of aircraft and personal automated clearance system to centralize communication flows through entry authorization protocol through CBMA. So, DoD is just really, really huge. And it's just really hard to get all of them. So through our partnership with Joint Region Readiness and also Indo-PACOM, we have been supporting each other in ensuring that, all military activities and also communications are all channeled through CBMA, so that we are aware of, what's happening in our home. I think we just go back. Okay. Now with the next slide, a part of that clearinghouse, and really just bringing everyone together. CBMA, in partnership with all of our research partners, the permitting agencies, here on Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda, we have hosted DoD roundtables, and these are just some of the highlights that we have hosted since the establishment of CBMA in 2019. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, we have been very successful in working together, establishing a working group between the Sinai government and Joint Region Marianas and PAC Fleet, to address the many concerns that we have with the MIT EIS, and we have been successful for having, a lot of those comments, recognized by the U.S. Navy by the inclusion into the record of decision that was signed in August 2020. Okay, and then in meeting our mandate of integrating military into our community, we have established a community relations program for which, as earlier I mentioned, we have Alex Palacios and Daryl Babauta, who are responsible in executing Commonwealth programs here. And then we also have 2 employees down in Tinian who are also responsible in executing Commonwealth programs on the island of Tinian, and also providing support to the mayor and the Tinian delegations with all the military activities happening on the island of Tinian. This effort has supported our community relations efforts to sports activities, cleanup initiatives on our beach areas, non-combat humanitarian exercises between military personnel and residents, and that's something that we're working on right now for the eventual redevelopment of community park facilities and cleanup efforts across the Sinamay. And we also have the U.S. Marine Corps Guam Activity Toys for Tots program. This has been, extended over to the Sinamay about 6-7 years ago. And since we have established our office in 2019, we have also been, successfully coordinating alongside with Lady Diane Foundation and First Lady Diane Torres and Lady Walla, for the 2019-2020 Toys for Tots campaign in collaboration with the U.S. Marines. So 2019, we were successful in distributing over 3,500 of toys across, on Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. And with 2020, unfortunately, COVID kind of limited our ability to do the same thing or increase our efforts for 2019, but we were able to execute that in 2020 as well. So just want to kind of share of, the projects that we have happening on Tinian right now. And this is through the Innovative Readiness Training Programs of DOD. And we have over 45 CVs on Tinian that are, are working on the road improvement projects on Marple Heights Subdivision 2. And so this is where they are right now. And then we also have 30 Marines who are working on the Tinian Harbor Repair Project through the Exercise Readiness Construction Training Program. And this is really a project that, is an outcome of the negotiation between Chairwoman Kimberly Hines through the negotiation that she had with U.S. Air Force through the DBERT negotiation process. Okay, and the other one that we have happening on Tinian is the Tinian Mortar Range Remediation Project. So, and what that is just really cleaning up a lot of the ammunition that was left, behind during World War II. Hopefully to open access to community members to this beach area. It's a really beautiful property. I don't know if any of you guys have been there, and I encourage that if you're in Tinian to, I encourage you to visit it. Visit the place. It's a really, really nice, beautiful beach. So just a brief background on that project. As I mentioned earlier, Chiquit Beach was used as a former Tinian Mortar Range, back in World War II as a battlefield, and later a training range from 1945 to 1994. In 1997, a feasibility study was conducted, and they came back and determined that there's a really good possibility to clean up a portion of the border range to allow access to the Tinian residents. So that's ongoing, and we're looking forward to the completion of that project, so that we can hopefully have our Tinian residents and really Saipan and Rhoda and visitors alike enjoy that beautiful beach. So they're ongoing, and we're looking at potentially, if everything goes well. Again, the pandemic kind of pushed back a little bit, created setback on these projects, but we're hoping to see this project progressing forward and for its completion in August 2022. Okay, and then the other portion of our mandate is for the promotion of economic opportunities. And I know that this is something that Senator Guerrero is looking forward. We do have our director of Sinamay PPAC here, who's be obviously able to provide more information, but I'll touch briefly on that. So one of the things that we're doing to be able to meet this mandate, is for the development of resilient sustainable islands master plan. So we have procured services for the development of this plan. It's a planning efforts to identify systematic challenges to cinema development, to seek viable solutions to promote sustainable development opportunities and capacity building in line with DoD related activities. We also promoted grant management trainings, which is ongoing. It's a 1-year program within the cinematic government, and with really the whole intention is to increase economic impact of federal funds. We are also in the process of procuring services for the development of a strategic decision metric model and intermodal transportation plan to enhance operational effectiveness, resiliency, and sustainable intermodal infrastructure in the cinema in cooperation and partnership with the Commonwealth Ports Authority. And we have successfully secured funding for the establishment of the Cinema Procurement Technical Assistance Center to assist as our business community and entrepreneurs in navigating federal contracting system to increase the cinema's ability to compete and participate in the federal marketplace. Okay. So just briefly on the Cinema PTAC and Chairman, that would be up to you and the members here if we want to go into more details about the Cinema PTAC. But here I just want to provide just brief information about it. We do have our director here who is running the center, and he's available to answer any questions. So basically, the mission of the Cinema PTAC is to develop organizational capacity, and know how to navigate and participate in the federal marketplace, with the vision to, have our business communities, gain, wider opportunities to participate as contributing partners in the numerous federal procurement events that occur throughout the nations. So part of the services that the Cinema PTAC provides to our business communities are training, workshops, and just showing them how to navigate the federal contracting systems to be able to capture and expand and increase opportunities for contracting opportunities, not just limited to DoD contracts, but really just all of our federal government partners. And Cinema PTAC provide counseling services, and and also workshops and training to increase small business capacities, as well as women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, to get their certification, because there are special considerations given to those businesses, to increase their opportunities in capturing federal contract opportunities. So basically that's it, Mr. Chairman. I just all the other slides that I have really is just to highlight what are the key initiatives that we have for 2021, and really just in furthering the mandates of the CMI under the Commonwealth Bureau of Military Affairs and the executive order. I know it's a long presentation, and I can go forward if you wish. Otherwise, it's really just providing the next few slides is just to highlight what the efforts that we're doing to further our mandate. So that's all I have for now. So we're open for any questions or comments and feedback.
Any questions? Go ahead, Will.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Palacios. Thank you. Can you tell me, or they report to you what's happening in Tinian right now with the military? Can you tell me the number of troops on island?
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, we do have 45 CVs who are working on the IRT projects, that's the road improvement projects, and then we have 38 Marines working on the harbor.
Okay.
Yes, and there are also the same force that are building the Tinian, the Camp Tinian.
Okay. So with the numbers they have there, I know they are not gonna have a civilian man PX or commissary, but I know when they go to war, they tend to open their own PX, it's called troop store, and run by the military. Are they doing that now?
No.
So, you know, there are some military retirees there that would like to, you know, participate on their cheap store. So maybe you suggest that, how's that, is that possible, that's possible?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, right, for part of we got the technical agreement actually included, you know, that infrastructure requirement, and they have not done so. But we do have our Army Reserve here that, you know, our people from Tinian and Rhoda, you know, we get access to.
I understand, and you know, troop store is basically for convenience. So by having them to come all the way from Tinian to here, it's not convenient. That is my concern. When you talk about Commonwealth joint military training, that kind of just click on my head. Is that we have military of our own that we join the U.S. to have that training, or is it just Japan and so forth? Why can't we say joint military with foreign whatever? I mean, that's what my understanding in the military terminology. Joint military. I stationed in Korea, and many times they call Joint Forces Korea training. So title here is gonna kind of gut me off, or having it to say Commonwealth Joint Military Training. You know, you agree? Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Just a technical word.
Yeah, technical word. So and that's the Congressman knows this is really the Navy and the Marines, right? That came up with that name, and essentially what it is really just focused on the relocation of the Marines from Okinawa to Saipan, and yes, they do have allies. We do have the U.S. We have the Japan, we have Australia, and Philippines every once in a while. And Korea, but they do come and train here. So there's two major training initiatives that happen in the cinema, and that's the Hope North and also the Bill and Shield. So they train on Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda, and of course, you know, up north, FDM.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Palacios, for your presentation this afternoon, and welcome to all the members of your team. I do have some questions. Some of them are financial, so I'm wondering, because you do have a number of team, and I understand from you earlier from the side conversation that you're also remodeling, I guess, one of the offices here in Capitol Hill for your office location. I'm wondering, what funding are you guys getting for your program, for your office?
So we got 100% federally funded. Our office is actually primarily funded by Office of Economic Adjustments. That's a component of the Department of Defense. And so just real quick history. So we have back in, I believe it was during the 50th administration, when we actually have OEA, Office of Economic Adjustments, that granted, you know, awarded the Sinamite government a grant to establish a program, and back then it was called the Military Integration, what is that? Military Integration Management Committee, and that was under the 50th administration. Subsequently, when the late Enos became governor, he carried that forward. And then when Governor Torres became governor, that program was actually abolished, and later on established the Commonwealth Military Liaison Office, all under the same grantor, which is the Office of Economic Adjustments, and it is now called the Office of Defense. I'm trying to remember the new name. They just recently named it. It's ODLCC. Yeah, but it's Office of Economic Adjustments that's funding our office, and that's through, you know, we submitted a grant application, and that's where we get the source of funding. I did have a challenge in the very beginning with the grantor, because when the governor decided to establish the Commonwealth Bureau of Military Affairs, we are at a time when we're just really just economically, depressed. So I submitted a grant application, to fund a CBMA, and there was a little bit of a static and challenge from the grantors aside, but we had to just be firm, because this office is established because it's really created by the demands and requirements caused by DoD activities here. So that's just one of the component.
Thank you for sharing that you are fully federally funded.
Yes.
Can you please share with this committee how much is that grant amount?
Sure. So we have different grant programs. The one that's funding a CBMA, that's a total of a little over $3 million, and to support personnel, 100% personnel, 100% operations, and 100% programs.
Okay, so I'm looking at a report right now, and I understand your office has 9 business units.
Okay, and then that's for the different grant programs that we have.
I understand. Okay, and cumulative, I guess, grant total money is about $10.6
Yes, ma'am.
million. And I was doing a quick calculation on your expenditure ratio. So far, you have expended about 47% of your total grant money. You have a fund balance of about $5.6 million. So I was just wondering, perhaps maybe later on you can provide a much more greater detail of what are those grant amount of money and what is expiration dates of those grants.
Okay.
I'll be very much interested in looking at that.
Sure. I can provide the information, but just real quickly, I'm actually trying to access the internet here.
Not today, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, later.
All right.
I just thought I want to throw that out to the committee, and I think that'll be a very interesting conversation at a later date.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I do still have some other questions. I'm very much interested in, coming from the background that I come from the Department of Labor. I am no foreigner to a lot of this conversation on DPAC and a lot of inside the fence and outside the fence activities, and the movement of the Marines from Okinawa to Guam, 8,000 Marines and 9,000 dependents. I'm very interested primarily on the DBEs, business opportunities for our people. I do understand that a lot of the DoD contracts are focusing also on minority groups. As a matter of fact, as we speak today, with all of the SBA loans that are coming down throughout the region and throughout the United States, a lot of them are also focusing on prioritizing minority groups. So I was wondering, in your team's observation of what percentage opportunity are you guys looking at with respect to the data that you're looking at today as we speak with the new organization of DPAC, and what types of products and or services that could potentially benefit our people in the minority group so that they could get into the opportunity of becoming a contractor for the federal government. I understand earlier in my early conversation, there are some companies that are currently licensed or registered with the federal government through SAMSET.gov. They have their DUNS number. And I'm just wondering whether there's I'm sure there's much more greater opportunity for our minority groups to get in there and get their hands on those opportunities that would provide services and products for the military build-up within our region. So quickly, maybe just like an overview of that particular conversation. I'd like to get some information on that, and also very much interested in the percentage ratio of the particular contracts that are coming into the Pacific, primarily for the Commonwealth. How much money how much percentage of that particular business opportunities that are potentially going to come down the pipe? For example, $21.9 million of a 10-year agreement with CPA. I am curious to know what percentage of that money is actually going to benefit the DBEs with respect to business opportunities in our region. I don't know if you guys are having that kind of conversation. I'm sure you are. But I think those are great, interesting information that this committee and the entire community for women, disabled persons, veterans, those classified under minority groups to benefit from these amounts of monies that are coming in from the federal government? And what can we do to make sure that we are at the forefront of that conversation so that our people in these minority groups do not lose out on the opportunities? I don't expect a great conversation on this. It's a huge subject matter, but maybe just a little bit of overview, and later on we can have more conversation. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for asking those questions. So the Cinema PTAC was just established. We actually opened our doors in February when we launched our services, right, just in February. So we're only about a couple of months, and right now we are focused on recruitment. We do have right now, if I'm not mistaken, Director, we have a little over 200 clients. We have a little over 200 that registered. However, the Cinema PTAC is limited to serving only contract-ready, small businesses and entrepreneurs, and that's pursuant to our grant agreement, the terms and conditions of Defense Logistic Agency. However, that does not stop us from referring them. We are partnering with other, organizations, and then refer those individuals that are not contract ready yet, because the Cinema PTAC is limited to just providing services, counseling services to contract ready, business owners and business owners. But the training and the workshops that we make available is open to anyone. That's not just limited to PTAC clients. We are allowed under the grant to provide those trainings and workshops to everyone. But in terms of the counseling services and all the details, the specifics that the Cinema PTAC offers, we're limited to contract ready, clients. So in response to your question on in regards to the percentage of contracts that the cinema community is tapping on, I don't have a firm percentage on top of my head right now, but in the initial, when we were about to open our doors to our community, a cursory review of the federal contracts that has been executed here in the cinema for projects and programs is very, very minimal. We were, if I'm not mistaken, Director, just correct me if I'm wrong, I think we were only at somewhere around 23%. The federal government deploys millions and millions of dollars for projects and programs here, but we're only tapping about 23% of that. So that's something that, the PTAC is working hard, to bring our communities together, business communities together, so that we can start connecting them, with our federal partners. So we have held a couple of industry day, one with the Department of Defense, and only recently about 2 days ago with our FEMA Region 9. And that is one of the things that we're doing, is really just to bring the small businesses together and connect them with all this federal contracting office.
Thank you for that information. I do want to share with the group that I am very interested in that. I have come across documentations because I am doing some research. I have seen a government entity requesting for a waiver of the required threshold with respect to DBEs, and I'm talking years back in the Commonwealth. I have seen a report from another entity within the government that actually requested for a reduction of the threshold percentage for DBEs. And there's a reason why I am bringing this to your attention, because there is a lot of money to be made. And I would really like to see our DBEs in our Commonwealth benefit from all of these DoD contracts, even those that are contracts that are not necessarily related to DoD contracts, but federally funded projects. These are the areas of concern that I have as a sitting senator currently for Saipan, and I would like to encourage your group to please work with me and look into this, because this would benefit our people and those that are in those professional categories primarily that could provide this kind of services, but also those other businesses that are within the economic sectors of the Commonwealth that could provide the products and services that are, able to support the military buildup within the region, so that everybody can have a benefit, economic benefit for themselves and their families, and overall the business economy for the country. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And that is part of the, the efforts that our office, and we're happy that now we have this in my PTEC, because that's going to really, increase, the efforts that we're doing to be able to try and get our business, our community to tap into, DoD contracts and other federal, contracting opportunities. But, in addition to contracting opportunities, we're also looking, exploring ways on how we can, increase employment opportunities, for our people, for Site Planting and Rhoda, with all the military activities that's happening here.
Speaking of employment opportunities, as we speak today, it takes me back to what I used to do again. Been getting a lot of meeting invitations, which I have been participating with respect to our apprenticeship program. And yes, a lot of the jobs that are being created by the military buildup are apprenticeable occupations.
Yeah.
And everybody under the umbrella of this government system, in my opinion, and it's not wrong, that everybody has a role to play. And that our citizens, currently with our unemployment rate, regardless of municipality, must be given the opportunity. And the departments that are primarily the key players of employment should be put on the table and be brought to this conversation frequently and constantly, because there is a lot of opportunities to be made out there. I also, to end my questions, earlier you did mention about First Lady Diane Foundation, 2,500 toys distribution.
3,500.
Okay, yeah, so whatever that number is. I was just wondering, because of the presentation and the initiatives, not to discourage social responsibility and to be part of that, but I do understand too that the Marine Corps, they have their Toys for Tots, right?
Yeah.
That donation drive. So that's great. It's very historical, and I am a mother of a former Marine, so I do have passion for that. But I was just wondering more primarily focusing on the fiscal side of the house of your responsibility and the financials. So again, Toys for Tots is every year the Marine Corps goes around and they collect toys from everybody that donates. I applaud them for that. And I do appreciate also your gesture, I guess, but not to take you away from your primary responsibility of what's happening within our Commonwealth and our geopolitical situation that we are facing in the Pacific. I don't know if you guys read the latest news on the Pacific Times regarding a build-up of bases in Palau, the Marshall Islands, and I believe it's Yap also. So as you can see, that we are at this risk situation right now, and we are not removed from that. And considering that we are under the umbrella of the United States government and under Section 104 of the Covenant, it does actually give the U.S. government the unilateral powers for our national security.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention and to really focus on what is necessary that needs to be done to protect ourselves as U.S. citizens here in our Commonwealth. For as long as we, continue our relationship with the United States government and knowing where we stand, rather than be at the face of the enemy, which we know what's going on right now. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? All right, so if I may, what we were talking about opportunities, what I'd like to see happen is, there's a lot of veterans out here. Now, this reminds me of 28 years of service with DoD. Red Lizana, too, I think is a 22-year retired veteran. So, there's a lot of veterans out here that has gone through all this process. You will eventually find yourself needing employees that require clearances. Tap into the veterans. They are out there ready to get adjudicated very quickly. Once you've been adjudicated with any form of security clearance, whatever level they are, you're locked in. It has been discontinued, you've been removed from it, but it sits there, and it costs very little when it's already been adjudicated. See what I'm saying? You're already locked in. All you have to do is pay your portion to get this. You're gonna need that eventually. People with clearances. You guys tap into the veterans that are out here. They're out there, they're everywhere. I'm one of them. Yeah. And that really, I believe, will make our life easier. Yeah. So, anybody else? With that said, it was very good presentation. It's an extended summary. Go ahead, Brett.
Thank you, Chairman. Because you brought it up, and of course, when they started having all these missions in Kenya, been the veterans director. What is it? Your title again? Your title again?
Special assistant.
Special
Yeah,
assistant.
not for veterans. So the veterans office is separate from our
Okay,
office.
so you won't be able to go in on the top.
I'm sorry?
You won't be able to go in on the top if there's a mission path. So because you brought up the security clearance, would we not be able to some of you be in that meeting? I don't think so, because you're not fully qualified on the security clearance.
No, so, no,
I just want to clear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
no, they don't
We're talking
share
about
anything
the
national.
upcoming training, and
Yeah.
of course, we have to be
Sure.
ready for those.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I believe that's where all this employment opportunity is gonna really come into play, when you're gonna be looking at, people with clearances. So that, I recommend you guys to the veterans. So with that said, it was a very good update. Now I can actually move forward and help you guys out.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody, the viewing folks out there. Appreciate this very much. Now that we are somewhat aware of what's going on out there, we will do this more often, so we can continue to keep the people informed. So with that, I am going to adjourn this session. Thank you for your day.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.